Hey folks, this is Shock, and at this Christmas time I'm going to do a video titled Why I Believe, and I'm going to tell you why I became a Christian, why I left atheism, and we're going to be taking this motorcycle on, you can't see it, but there's a freeway right here beyond the trees, so we'll be hitting some good speeds. And this is a Suzuki SV1000. I just gassed up. Take a walk around. And let's get on. Let me show you the camera. Notice the Velcro here. See the Velcro? And there's also Velcro on the inside, so I just go like this, see? And let's get on. And so you see I'm hands-free. Now we're going to start the motorcycle. This should be a good video. I'm going to go through some scientific reasons why I believe in God, and I'm going to talk to you about why I believe Christianity is truth, why I know it's truth. So what we're going to do is I'm going to reset the odometer here. Every time you gas up on these bikes, you reset it so you know how far you can go till you gas up again. See the kickstand? Kicking it up. You ready? Okay. Let's get this camera situated just a bit more. There we go. A lot of you know that I used to be an atheist. So we're going to talk about why I left atheism, why I left the lie of atheism. Watch the fog lift off the camera, just like when it lifted after I left atheism. I'm going to tell you some errors, lies, frauds of atheism, and then I'm going to talk to you about the truth of Christianity. But first, I'm going to get all the way over here and do a U-turn. I've been, oh great, it just turned yellow. Let's go, 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 go. I did it. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, but excuse me, YouTube just recently allowed us to do videos longer than 15 minutes. So this will be good. So this is going to be titled Why I Believe. And I'm going to show you how it's more rational to be a Christian than to be an atheist or any man-made religion. So I won't even be able to give you every single reason why I believe, but I can give you some of them because of time restraints. This SD card in the camera only holds so much. So let's get on the freeway, pick up throttle, and we're off, and I'll start talking. Here we go. Hold on, this guy's going slow because someone's in front of him. What I'm going to do, I'll get all the way over in the left lane there. Let's pick up throttle and just get in front of him. Okay. All throughout high school, I was really not a Christian. I was atheist. Shifting up. And I do attribute that to the godless, liberal, indoctrinating, government-run public school system. A lot of it had to do with what they taught us about evolution. Now, I noticed when they were teaching us in school, they would say it's a theory. It's very windy today, so I may get some strong winds on this video. So that always bothered me, that they would call it a theory. A theory is a way to say that something might not be true, but to have people believe in it. So basically, it was a theory. And when I got out of high school, I started to realize that evolution has major problems. One of the problems, and by the way, this is one of the reasons why I believe. You might be saying, well, what's this got to do with you believing that God exists? Well, it's got everything to do with me believing that God exists. I'll show you. I would say the strongest argument that atheists try to make, when I was an atheist also, is evolution. Well, evolution, they'll say, would prove that the species can come about by solely natural processes. The problem, though, is great. This guy got in front of me. It'll open up in a while. The problem, though, as I started studying it more and more, I found that there's two things. There's microevolution. These freeways are crud. Let's just give it the throttle. There's microevolution, and then there's macroevolution. And all that we see that has been proven is microevolution. That is change within limits. You know how you have certain types of horses, but they're all horses. A horse doesn't give birth to a dog. A dog doesn't give birth to a horse. They all are giving birth after their own kind. And you know, coincidentally, is it a coincidence, folks? As I tap my finger to my formerly Bible-speaking breeding mouth. Well, you decide. The Bible says that God created them after their own kind. Now, why don't we see dogs giving birth to cats, or cats giving birth to hamsters? Or why couldn't that happen? It's interesting that the Bible says that God created them to give birth after their own kind. So that was one thing that started to make me doubt my atheism. Another thing is, Darwin said that there would be all types of fossil evidence showing transition from one species to another. And literally, we should have millions and millions of these transitional fossils. For example, a bat and a whale both are mammals and vertebrates. Think of all the in-between, so to speak, if you're a layman when it comes to evolution. What we're talking about when we say intermediates is evolutionists try to con you. They try to do a con job on you and say that a bat and a whale have common ancestry. Well, if that's true, and hey, by the way, there's a motorcycle rider up here. Let's catch up to him if we're able to do it, if he ain't going too fast. If that was true, then we should have millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of fossils showing this. And we don't. Now, don't get me wrong, we do have a lot of fossils. We just don't have fossils showing the transitional fossils are missing. So that's not to harp on evolution, but basically it's got a lot of problems. In fact, Francis Crick, who is the co-discoverer of DNA, double helix structure, he said that he doesn't believe evolution is possible here on this Earth by itself. He said something must have seeded the planet. He said it's like a miracle. He goes, it's almost a miracle that it would happen. He said he don't believe that evolution happened here on Earth naturally. He believes something seeded the Earth. All right, let's see what my brother here, my brother from another mother, let's see what he's writing. So that was the first thing that got me to doubt my atheism, because all I saw was what the Bible said, is that these species give birth after their own kind. Now, I gotta go right up here, but we'll stick along here. I'll take this other freeway route.
Now, I don't want to belabor the evolution thing, but I'm starting with evolution, why I believe, because that's the only game in town that atheists have. If they don't have evolution, they got nothing. That's what they have to play, the evolution card. So, once evolution's destroyed, it's very easy for people to realize that atheism is a fallacy. Like I did. So evolution basically was destroyed for me. I just couldn't buy into it after that. Now, microevolution is true, but all that is change within limits. But that's scriptural. And science has proven it. Science has not proven macroevolution. In fact, there were two guys, I believe, Barrow and Kepler, and they wrote a book called The Anthropic Principle. And they said there's at least 10 things that have to happen in the course of human evolution, like the development of your eye, the development of your inner skeleton, so forth and so on. Each of which, they said, 10 things, each of which, get this guys, each of which, they said, is so improbable that it would take too much time. You see the sun up there? They said the sun would have already ceased to be a main sequence star and would have incinerated the earth. Well, I'm still here. In other words, they're saying evolution is not true. Check out a book called Darwin on Trial. I believe the author is Philip Johnson. And he explains why so many people buy in to the fictional theory of this macroevolution. And he says what it is, you know what, let's just put the hammer down on this book, because this guy is kind of going slower, but he doesn't have a windscreen. So you guys, let's go. Give him a wave and we're off. There he is in my mirror. It doesn't look like I'm going fast, but if you look in the mirror, I think we're going pretty good. Philip Johnson, in his book Darwin on Trial, says that there is a naturalist bias. He says if someone's a naturalist, in other words, they don't believe in the supernatural, he said they're going to be biased towards anything that is outside a natural evolution. And he says what Darwinism is people that are naturalists, that have this naturalist bias, and it extrapolates from microevolution, and it says, well, because microevolution is true, it falsely then says, therefore, macroevolution is true, which we know is not logical thinking. It's like saying because that car has a motor, my motorcycle is just like the car, because my motorcycle has a motor. Obviously, I only have two wheels. I don't have a steering wheel. Notice I have the handlebars. It's ridiculous. But that's what he's saying. He's saying that there's a grand Darwinian theory that cannot be read from the evidence. And he says that it's pushed and prodded and moved into society. Let's get over here. By people that have a preconceived and predetermined worldview of naturalism. So let's drive a wooden stake through the heart of evolution. You can see why evolution has problems. So my atheism started to get a little shaky there. But another thing too, I'm supposed to believe, when I was an atheist, that this is just a coincidence that we're all here. That DNA, which is empirical proof of design, is just a coincidence. It's dumb luck and chance. Really now? You really want me to buy that? Rational people cannot buy that. If someone believes that DNA is just dumb luck and chance, they're just not rational. Or it could be what Philip Johnson said, they have a predetermined worldview of naturalism. It is getting very windy right now. Now, let's talk about, well, why Christianity? Have you guys ever been to a lake like a water, a bunch of water, a lake, and it's really crystal smooth. There's no ripples in the lake. I'm going to have to tuck down. It's getting very windy. And what happens if you get a little tiny rock and throw it in the lake? You won't really see a lot of ripples. The ripples will just go a little further out, and then they dissipate. They disappear, right? If you get a very little pebble and throw it in. If you get a big rock, and you throw that big rock in the lake, you'll see the ripples spread out far and wide. Woo, very windy. What happened thousands of years ago with Jesus Christ, and today in the year 2000, we're going on the year 2012, I'm making this in the year 2011 in December. What happened is, by the way, look at the trees falling. This is why I'm kind of leaning here. The wind is very strong. Something happened thousands of years with Jesus Christ, and it's still creating ripples here in the years 2012 and beyond. Something happened. That's why we have the ripple effect over here thousands of years later. Something very, very powerful happened. Now, I have researched, look at this guy, he's going to get pulled over. He's got these tires. Oh, they're not tires, they're hoses or something. But I think that cop in that SUV is going to pull him over. Because it's like hanging by a thread because it's very windy. So thousands of years ago, we know that Jesus Christ existed. The evidence is overwhelming. Let's start there with his existence. Now, what bothered me as an atheist is the evidence is so overwhelming that Jesus Christ existed as a real person. Yet, there were many atheists like Richard Dawkins, for example, that were writing books even saying that Jesus never existed, and actually alluding to this, that Jesus never existed. Now this bothered me as an atheist, because what happened is, I knew Jesus Christ was a historical person. You can't deny the evidence. He's written about in Josephus, Tacitus. The Bible is also a very reliable source. A lot of the Bible is history. Most New Testament scholars agree there are parts of the Bible that aren't just poetic metaphors and things like that, but it's history that has already occurred. Giving us the throttle, let's go around. So it did bother me that there would be atheists denying that Jesus Christ existed, and that showed to me that they just have a bias. They have a bias, and they're willing to lie for atheism and say that he didn't exist. Now, if you go below this video where it says shockofgod.net, and you go to my music podcast area, I should say. We're hitting a lot of bumps here. I have a debate there with John Lennox versus Richard Dawkins, where Richard Dawkins finally admits in live debate that Jesus did exist. So basically everyone agrees that Jesus existed, so we can put that to rest. The evidence is overwhelming. So now we need to ask ourselves, was Jesus telling the truth? Because the things that Jesus claimed, and it's very windy, the things that Jesus claimed, there's a guy sitting right down there on the freeway, and the cop car's right in front of him. The things that Jesus Christ claimed were just miraculous, amazing things. He claimed to be the Son of God. He claimed that he was going to die and rise again. Now, let's look at this. You got the disciples that are all walking with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ dies and they scatter. Now what's interesting, Jesus predicted this. He said, you know, you're all going to flee from me. You're all going to scatter when he was arrested and crucified. And that happened. Now, one thing that bothered me as an atheist, and it was driving me crazy, is why? And this is one of the reasons why I believe. Why, and by the way, there's a hybrid vehicle. Why would these disciples that were afraid of death, when Jesus was alive, by the way, and they ran and scattered from Jesus when he was taken to the cross, why, ladies and gentlemen? Why would they be bold? Why would they get emboldened after Jesus is dead? This part I pondered on. This bothered me. This does not make rational sense if Jesus was still dead. Why would they be willing to die for someone that said they were going to rise again and didn't? Now, some people will say, well, maybe years and years, you know, hundreds of years went by and legend developed, and then people started dying for this belief that Jesus rose from the dead. Well, the problem there is it happened immediately after Jesus' resurrection. People started laying down their lives for Jesus Christ. There wasn't enough time for legendary development to occur. Something happened. Remember the ripple effect I was telling you about? Okay, we're going to lean on the inside here. This freeway rocks. We get some pretty good speed. I think this tow truck guy, what is he doing? Getting all the way over. Not good. Go! Okay. Upshifting to 6th gear. Let's see if I'm in the right gear. Yep. So, why would these men that walk with Jesus, why would they flee when he's alive? Now he's dead. And extra biblical history, Tacitus, Josephus, etc., shows that these men died for the truth of the belief that they saw Jesus Christ alive. Why would they do that? Think about that. Coincidence? See, this is what the unbelievers want me to believe, that that was just a coincidence. That doesn't make sense. Something happened. Remember the rock being thrown in the lake, the ripple effect. Something powerful happened thousands of years ago. Now, look at Paul. Look at Paul, who was killing Christians. There's another problem for me as an atheist. Paul is killing Christians. And all of a sudden, he claims that he saw Jesus Christ on the road to Damascus. Hold on a second. And the other men with him, the other guys with him, that they were sort of like a hit squad, they would go arrest Christians. The other with him also heard the voice. So he's got witnesses. Now, what makes a man like Paul, who's basically like a bounty hunter, arresting Christians, killing them, what makes Paul all of a sudden become a radical believer, a bold believer in Jesus Christ? Something don't jive there. something doesn't make sense unless Paul's telling the truth and he witnessed Jesus Christ. Is this just a coincidence, folks? I'm supposed to believe as an unbeliever that this is just a coincidence? Let's mosey on to prophecy. Talk about prophecy. I could spend hours and hours going through prophecies that actually came true in the Bible. Amazing prophecies, the odds of which it can't be a coincidence. Look, in the Bible, Israel was prophesied that they'd be scattered all over the earth, and then God would draw Israel back together to herself as a nation. Now, do you know that no other country in world history has met this prophecy? Only one, Israel. God bless Israel. God's chosen. After the war around 1948, miraculously, no one thought it would happen, that prophecy was fulfilled when Israel became a sovereign people, a sovereign nation. Am I supposed to think that's coincidence? There's no other country in world history, let alone the world, that has happened to. Am I supposed to really believe that's just dumb luck and chance? We can go on and on about prophecy. Look at Isaiah. Isaiah was written, guys, before Jesus Christ was born here on the earth. Do a Google search on Isaiah, the suffering servant, or just type in, let me downshift to fifth here, the suffering servant. Don't type in downshift to fifth, type in the suffering servant. It talks about right there Jesus being crucified. It talks about a person being crucified, how his garments were gambled for. It talks about him dying for our sins. Now, what's amazing about this is before Jesus Christ ever existed here in the flesh on earth. Am I supposed to think that's a coincidence? I don't think so. Let's talk about some scientific evidence. You know, in order for me to be riding this motorcycle on this planet without dying, in order for all of us to be living, the universe for Earth had to be exquisitely fine-tuned for life. In other words, there's about, I would say, 50 constants. Let me get over it. This might be a motorcycle guy. There's about 50 constants that needed to be fine-tuned for life here on this earth. For example, the distance from the sun, the amount of entropy, the balance between matter and antimatter, the rate of expansion, etc. If you look at these fine-tuned constants, you'll realize there's no possible way this could be just dumb luck and chance or coincidence. The guy's going too slow, so let's just speed up. Am I supposed to believe that this is just coincidence? And if I were able to change one of those fine-tuned constants just a hair's breadth, I could destroy life here on the earth. I'm literally balanced, not on a knife edge, on a razor's edge. That's how balanced we are here for life. A little bit closer to the sun, we fry up. A little bit further away, we freeze. Am I supposed to believe that's coincidence? The majority of New Testament scholars believe that Jesus did exist. a majority of the New Testament scholars also believe that eyewitnesses saw Jesus Christ after his death, his post-mortem appearances. There's an atheist New Testament scholar called Garth Ludeman. He admits that the disciples did indeed have experiences where they saw Jesus Christ. He says he does believe that they did testify to seeing Jesus Christ after he was risen from the dead. Antonin Scalia, who's on the Supreme Court, he said, are we to believe that all these men that walk with Jesus Christ, ate with Jesus Christ, talked with Jesus Christ, they all just got together and concocted this lie that Jesus rose from the dead, all for the sole purpose of being martyred? Really? That's what you want me to believe? Really now? No. I can't believe it's a coincidence, folks. I'd have to believe in coincidence after coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. Let's talk about the moral argument. You know, I was watching on the military channel this morning as I was getting ready to ride the motorcycle. I was watching on some of the evils that have been done through history, like with the atheist regimes of Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao. And they were interviewing a woman in the horrible, terrible things that the army did to this woman, and how they killed her family and things like that. Now, I'm supposed to believe, as an unbeliever, that there is no good and there is no evil, that everything just is. Well, then why am I bothered? Why is my spirit bothered when I see the evil that these men of history have done, like Stalin, Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao, Kim Jong-il? He's dead now, thank God. The Khmer Rouge. Look at Fidel Castro. Why am I bothered at the evil of rape, murder? Why am I bothered about this? Because there are some things that are wrong, guys. You know it. There are things that are objectively wrong. Rape is always wrong. Torturing kids for fun is always wrong. But see, on my atheism, there is no good or evil on atheism. Do you know Richard Dawkins said there is no good and evil, there's no purpose to life. But that's not what we experience in real life. We experience love. Over here. We experience love. We experience evil in our world. We experience good in our world. And if we experience evil in our world, and Lord knows we experience a lot of evil in this world, and there's good too. But if there's evil, guys, then there's good. And this proves that there is objective right and wrong.